Hello, and welcome to this session about tackling personal statements in 10 minutes. My name's James Calcutt, and I'm a Schools and Colleges Liaison Officer at Royal Holloway University. In today's session, we're going to be talking about what is a personal statement and why it's important. We're going to talk about how you plan your statement and what you include in this. And we're going to talk about how you write and structure your personal statement as well. First and foremost, what is a personal statement? So a personal statement is like a short reflective essay about why you are the best candidate for the course you're applying for. It allows the university to get to know you, the person behind the grades, and it gives you an opportunity to use examples of knowledge, skills and experience that you already have to show your passion for your chosen field. There's also a number of strict limits to personal statements. These include it being 4,000 characters or 47 lines long, and you only get one personal statement for your 5 choices on UCAS. So you need to make sure that you don't mention any universities or any particular courses by name. Let's talk about UCAS personal statement rules in a little bit more detail then. So as we've already found out, the character and line limit is 4,000 characters and 47 lines. The character limit includes any apostrophes, spaces, and any other special characters you use. The line limit includes any blank paragraphs or line breaks. Anything over either of these limits is lost, so it's really important that you stick within the 4,000 character and 47 line limit. It is possible to write a great personal statement within these limits, and this is really good practice for you for university level writing. Something you should also be aware of is plagiarism. UCAS is very strict on plagiarism and uses a particular software to make sure that every personal statement is unique. If plagiarism is detected, this information is then passed on to the universities, who then make a decision from there. As an example, in 2007, plagiarism detectives found 234 personal statements for medicine contained a story about a dramatic incident involving burning a hole in the pyjamas at age 8. This is because the applicants had all used the same online example. So it's really important that your personal statement is both unique and original. Before we get started though, there's a few things you need to make sure you know. First and foremost, you need to know why you want to study further and why you want to go on to university level education. You'll know why you want to study a particular subject further and what type of course you want to study. You want to work out what within that subject you want to study in more detail. And you want to make sure that looking at courses are making you excited. Let's talk about planning your personal statement. First, let's talk about the content you're going to include in your personal statement. This can be split into 2 categories. The first category is extra reading and research. This is an important way of demonstrating both your interest and knowledge of a subject. Here are a few examples of what you could include. First is wider reading. Wider reading is great as it shows your interest and passion for a course. With wider reading, make sure you're not just listing the books that you've read, but you're actually explaining what you learnt from them. Second here is the journal articles. Journal articles are a great way of showing that you're engaged with your subject and are easily accessible online via places such as Google Scholar. Thirdly, we have MOOCs or massive open online courses, which are often also freely accessible online. You have taster days. In the current day and age are taking place virtually, or masterclasses that are taken virtually, which show your ability to engage in university level education and a way to show that you have an understanding of what it's like to be a university student. And finally, we have podcasts such as TED Talks, which again show that you're really engaged in your subject area. The second category of content is extracurricular activities. These show a wider interest outside of your subject, which will elevate any UCAS application. One of these things is work experience. For courses such as medicine or veterinary science, work experience is really important to make sure your application is as strong as possible. It also shows that you can work outside of a school environment, and it shows that you've developed your transferable skills. If you're interested in work experience, research online and contact local businesses for relevant shadowing or work placements. In addition to work experience, there are a number of different ways that you can demonstrate your transferable skills through your extracurricular activities. These include playing music, doing different hobbies such as art or drama, playing in team or individual sports, travelling, and any work, part-time work and volunteering. Now we're going to talk about planning your personal statement. Here we have a very simple spider diagram with the course at the centre and your 4 key areas that you're going to talk about in your personal statement here. Them one by one. So first, how you'd plan out your introduction. So in your introduction, you want to answer these 3 key questions. Why you have chosen this subject, what particularly interests you about this subject, and where this interest has come from. So as you can see here, this student is applying for a history course. They've chosen history because of these reasons here. They're interested in the role of history in society because of these reasons here. And in this third bit, they'll talk about where that interest has come from, what they read, what they've watched, anything that really engaged them with that content. Then the student's gone on to talk about their academic content. So they've talked about what they've been studying at school and why these key skills are important to them. They've talked about an article they've read, what the article said, any opposing views to that article, and then what they think. And finally, they've used an online taste today as an example, talking about what they learnt, what they did, and why it's important. We'll then move on to the extracurricular activities. So this student plays football and is a vice captain of a football team, and here they've listed the skills they've demonstrated from this. They've done a Duke of Edinburgh, they've listed the skills here again, volunteering at a care home with the skills there, and a part-time job. It could be Nando's, it could be anywhere, with a list of skills here too. And finally, we have the plan for the conclusion. The key area that you want to demonstrate in your conclusion is what you want to do after university, and this student has listed this here. In addition to this, you do want to go into a little bit of detail to summarise your personal statement, but you don't really need to plan for that. So how do you write your personal statement? First and foremost, it's important to think outside of the box. Here are a few of the most common opening sentences for a personal statement. These are fine when you're starting out on your first or even your second draft. However, after this, it is really important that you replace these opening lines with something a little bit more original and a little bit more eye-catching. How do we structure our personal statement then? I've suggested the flow structure, as it's a really easy structure to follow, but also you can apply the plan we talked about earlier to this. So part 1 will be your introduction, and it will cover the key questions that we've already covered in our plan. Part 2 is your academic area, again, which is covering the key examples that you've included in your plan. Part 3 is your extracurricular activities, again, covering the key areas we've discussed and the key skills that we've discussed. And finally, you have your conclusion, which wraps everything together and talks about your career aspirations. 70% of your content should be in your academic area, and 30% of your content should be in your extracurricular activities. This can be weighed against again, so it could be 75 academic and 25 extracurricular. However, it's really important that you keep this balance of more academic content and less extracurricular activities. Now that we've worked out how we plan and structure our statement, how do we write it? We suggest using the S.T.A.R technique, which stands for situation, task, action, result. So in your situation, you'll be setting the context. Your T, the task, will be talking about the task that you set yourself to learn more about a particular topic. A is the action. This is what you went on to do and how you accomplish this task. And R is result. What happened as a result of what you did? Here we have an example of a student looking to study English, and this is them explaining really well about a book that they've read and an author they were particularly interested in. We also have the So What test, which is a really good way when reviewing your statement to make sure that all of your content is relevant. So this is an alternative to S.T.A.R, but you could also use it in conjunction with it as well if you wanted to. So with the So What test, you read each line. So here we have, at the weekends I play football and I captain my local team. On its own, we're asking, so what? What is the purpose of this line? A follow-up line here. This is enabling to develop skills in coaching, leadership and communication. This is better, but still, what's the purpose of what you're trying to say here? Finally, all of the skills will be useful as an undergraduate student and I'm keen to continue playing football at university. Perfect. Individually, each of these lines need a little bit more explanation, but together, this is a really well explained example. Finally, before we move on to our overall tips about personal statements, what are the tips for checking your personal statement? As with any good piece of work, your spelling, grammar and punctuation needs to be perfect. So, first and foremost, we recommend that you try reading your statement out loud. By reading it out loud, you're more likely to pick up on any mistakes you've made. We recommend that you utilise teachers, friends and family members to review your statement as well. I recommend that you pick 2 people, one to look at your content and one to look at your English language to review your personal statement. Use spell check, but don't always trust it completely. Make sure that you're using UK English dictionary on Word or a word processor, not the US dictionary. Make sure you check any names, dates and technical language. It's really important to remember that perhaps an academic they'll be teaching you may be reviewing your personal statement, so it's important that you get all the detail correct. And finally, keep checking it even when you're sick of it. This one check could be the difference between getting your dream place at university or not getting your dream place at university. So, to summarise, what are my personal statement top tips? So first, explain why you want to study the course. Second, explain why you're right for the course. Third, say what you've done outside of the classroom and why that's relevant. Fourth, what do you want to do after uni? And make sure you include elements of your career aspirations in this. 5, make sure it's easy to read. 6, start strong and make sure that you entice the reader to read on further. 7, let your personality in. 8, write naturally. 9, remember the STAR technique. And 10, and the most important tip I have, make sure that you're writing personally and you're making a statement. That's all we have time for today. If you want to know any more about Royal Holloway, you can order or download our prospectus at this QR code here, or you can sign up for our mailings at the bottom link there. If you want to take a look around our campus, you can use our virtual experience. You can ask current students about Royal Holloway using our chat function, and you can use our personal statement review service at this link at the bottom here. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that's been useful for you. Take care. Goodbye.